So normally orienteering happens on a large property where scouts have to run maybe a mile from point to point to point until they get to the finish line to be able to finish the course. The maze orienteering is made on a much smaller scale so that you can do this at a meeting. It's very easy to set up and you can introduce scouts to orienteering. So you get a map much like you do in normal orienteering, but instead of being on a topographical map, it's on this grid. So you see the map is on a grid. There's 25 markers. It's a 5x5 grid, and they have to follow the course from the triangle. We always start at the triangle in orienteering. We always finish at the double circle. And in this course, they have to travel and hit 7 points on the markers. So if you take a look right here behind me is where the start triangle is. And if we turn this map around, now we've oriented our map to where we are. We're standing at the triangle. The course is in front of us, and they have to count stakes. So to get to the first point in front of the triangle, they're going to go 2 stakes south or straight ahead. They're going to do 1 stake to the west because we're oriented that way, and then 1 stake south again to get to point number 1. If we're using barcode scanners here today, and you would just scan that marker. However, for your den meeting, if you didn't want to invest in scanners, there's also handwritten code. So the scouts can just go to that marker. They can write down the code that they found and continue on to all the points, writing the codes down as they go. And when they get to the finish line, the leader or the scout who's the leader would check the codes that they wrote down and know whether they finished or not. If you're using the barcode scanners, what's nice about that is it's going to keep track of time and it's going to keep track of a leaderboard, so scouts can get competitive and try to beat each other on the times, and they might run it again and again. This is the easy course. I'm going to just show you real quick the most advanced course, which is for your older scouts or your scouts that have a handle on this. It's the same setup that we're using here, but now each of the legs they're only pieces of the map, and they're all rotated off of north. That makes it more difficult for the scouts to find from one point to the next. So they've got to take one leg at a time, orient the map back and forth until they get to the right place. And when they finish up, they load up their scores in the computer, and it shows the time and whether they scanned all the right spots.
So would you see this as being like, in terms of skill level, like from Cub Scouts to, older
Absolutely.
Scouts? Like
I would say absolutely. Your Cub Scouts could do this. Obviously, this one would be a little more difficult for Cub Scouts. I would stick with the basic course.
Yeah.
A Cub Scout could do this. Obviously, they need some instructions to understand what they're doing, but it's really just counting stakes. And if you have the map oriented the right way, they could just count stakes and scan the barcodes. And scouts love scanning stuff, so that's a lot of fun too.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You bet.